but I'll yield to Senator Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank our military witnesses for, with clarity, stating the true facts of what happened at Harvard. It was not a little bitty matter. It was not a matter that just slid into reality and Dean Kagan was caught somehow in the middle of a controversy. She was a leader. She was a driving force in the effort to remove the military from full and equal access to that campus after the Solomon Amendment had been passed and that was required. Captain Hegseth, were you with General Petraeus in Mosul?
I was not. I didn't have the chance to serve under him, no, sir.
I was with the 101st there during that time in Mosul, and an Alabama National Guard attached to them too at that time. But you talked about coming in the back door, having to eat, or maybe it was Captain Youngblood, having to dine in the kitchen and not sit out front. Do you think, just from both, you're Yale, you're Harvard, you're Notre Dame, do you feel that that policy, setting aside the impact it may have had on recruiting, sent a message of some kind to the veterans and to the recruiters who may themselves have come off the battlefield to come on that campus?
Oh, absolutely.
What was that message, Captain?
That message very clearly is that your service to the country and to protect the Constitution is not valued by these institutions.
Captain Hegseth?
It certainly was not a message of support. You know, I know she met with veterans on Veterans Day. I know she honored them in public occasions. And, you know, that's appreciated by veterans. We learned that lesson from Vietnam vets who we did not honor. But it's a whole other thing when you take actions on their behalf to proactively give them access, elevate their service, show fellow classmates that indeed entering the military, going into the JAG Corps and being an Army lawyer or an Air Force lawyer is a way to contribute to your country just like any other legal defense fund. There's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it, and I think she made that very clear.
Just you being somewhat familiar with the Harvard campus, I understand that the speech she made to a protest was at the same time that a recruiter was in the next building attempting to recruit students. And so she made a speech in which she condemned the military policy and spoke out in that fashion. Do you think that would have been an asset to the recruiter in his effort in the next building?
Well, certainly not going to help, sir. And also the fact that it was encouraged that students would sign up for time with recruiters who had no interest in joining the military to clog the time and clog the rolls so that less actual possible recruits would have access. That's something Ms. Kagan also is purported to have encouraged.
Well, this veterans group, do you have any knowledge of it at the Harvard?
I've been a member of some veterans groups. Oftentimes we sit around and drink beer sometimes, but we don't usually bring recruiters on campus, sir.
Well, the veterans group at Harvard, they didn't have a salary. They didn't have an office. They were just a group of people that got together on occasion to how do you feel did Dean Kagan's testimony here about how the Veterans Association was offered the opportunity to be helpful to the recruiters, how do you judge that as a realistic explanation for denying them the official ability to utilize the recruiting services in office?
I just don't think there's any way you could possibly say that is equal access. You're thrusting it on students with a full workload like anyone else. They didn't sign up to bring recruiters onto campus. They don't have the resources. They're not being paid. They're not able to publicize it. Students oftentimes didn't even know that recruiters were there. So it's an issue when the Office of Career Services, anybody that's been in a university knows that all the folks that come in to offer jobs go through the career services, and you read the bulletin or you look on the screen to see when they're here, who you can meet with. When you don't have access to that, you're not accessing the pool of students in any sort of equal way.
You agree, Captain Youngblood?
Absolutely do. In fact, much is made over time about the network, the networking opportunities going to an Ivy League will provide students, and to be shut out of that when everyone goes through a career services office, in effect, prevents people from ever considering those careers.
Colonel Mo, thank you for your service. And do you have any comments on that subject?
Well, you know, actually, the experience I had at Notre Dame was in direct contrast to what these gentlemen have said for the very opposite reason. Notre Dame, strictly Catholic school, practices the Catholic character, the just war, etc., has a very, very strong ROTC presence. And as a student and later a faculty member and then a researcher at the Kroc Peace Institute, I saw very well and discussed very heatedly with a number of faculty about the position of the military on campus and even issues of war. But one of the references I made in my testimony, Senator, actually comes from the mouth of Father Ted Hesburgh, by many standards, certainly not a flaming conservative, who believed that one of the main reasons to have a strong ROTC presence at Notre Dame, both in the undergraduate and graduate school, was that those graduates would go forth in the military and influence the military such as they could from their upbringing.
Thank you. My brother-in-law was a teacher. He's a Holy Cross priest and was a teacher there for some time, and I would love to have heard more of it. We are trying to keep on a strict schedule, and I'm going to turning the gavel over to Senator Cardin, although the next person to be recognized will be Senator Specter. And if anybody feels like they're being cut off, it is, again, because of the extraordinary circumstances of starting this at this hour, just so that all the others who are going to want to testify will have the time to, both for and against Solicitor General Kagan. So that's why I know you've been waiting patiently, but that's why we're keeping the time. Thank you.